Macnan, and alongside me this week, of course, is Kevin Galvin, but Niall also doing the cameras. Kevin, Laguna Seca, we've all driven it, we all know it very well, should be good fun.
Yeah, really good fun. And I suppose characterised by that corkscrew turn that we all know about. 18-meter drop in elevation. Should be really interesting to see how those USF2000s get on with that one. But yeah, I suppose Laguna Seca, it's a track that we all know really extremely well. It's a real kind of stalwart on the US Motorsport calendar, and I suppose a track that's kind of, so you have to be on the limit so much on it. It really makes for some fantastic racing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what these guys can do around this track.
Yeah, of course. It was Long Beach, of course, 2 weeks ago, the scene of some serious chaos. The stewards were busy over the past few weeks getting some incidents sorted out. A number of drivers being given penalties, some still not quite resolved yet. But as a result, there will be an interesting championship fight going. And of course, Alex Dunn not here today, so that of course will drop him down the title fight as well. But we had that amazing fight in the feature race between Dave Maguire and RC Mantis for the win. The two of them crashing out with 2 laps left to run, giving Brian McManus a feature race win, which was fantastic to see. And there's a fantastic clip that we managed to get our hands on, actually, of Dave Maguire's household going absolutely mental watching the race. If you're all watching at home, how are you? But Dave is also in the championship fight now as well. It's himself versus Josh Malin at the moment at the head of the championship. So he's currently occupying the provisional pole position at the moment, ahead of Peter Dempsey. Keith Dempsey has got the bit between his teeth. Here's the championship points as they stand. Josh Malin on 264, Dave Maguire second on 233, so not far behind. Keith Dempsey, though, he's right in there, 231, just behind Dave Maguire in the points. Alex Dunn is 4th, but he is, of course, not here. Niall Murray 5th, Peter Dempsey 6th, and tied with now, of course, after his win, Peter is now tied with Brian in P6 and P7 on 172 apiece. Arias Dimantas rounds out the top 10 in the championship. So it is really, really close across the board. But Josh Malin with a healthy lead now as we head into these next few rounds. There's only 4 remaining, of course, this one and then the one at Montreal. So we'll have to wait and see, Kevin, if he's going to be able to finally round himself out a championship. He came close last time, but he has a good shot here.
Yeah, a really good shot to Josh Malin. And I think he deserves it, really, given how he's gotten on, not only in this year's championship, but obviously the last season's championship as well. Josh, he said 3 wins in the championship thus far. That is the most amount of anybody in the championship thus far, of course. And despite Dave Maguire's consistency, Josh has been really consistent as well. Only in round 4 as he really, and I suppose the last round at Long Beach, the second feature race, did he drop points, but there's been a lot of 40s, a lot of 50s in there for Josh. So 264 with as you say, 31-point lead in the top of the championship. And for Josh Malin, it's a great opportunity. He's top of the qualifying here again. So if he can keep it clean around here and secure a good result in the heat race at Laguna Seca, then you're only talking 3 rounds left, and potentially he'll be looking to wrap it up as soon as he can.
Yeah, Dave, of course, he had the massive opportunity in Long Beach to really close the gap, because Josh had an absolutely terrible feature race. Dave fighting for the win, ended up in the wall, getting collected by Arias Dimantas, unfortunately. So big chunk of points lost for Dave there. Josh, of course, taking a win in the sprint race, but having a disaster in the second one. But he's done exactly what he's done in the previous round. Now he has provisional pole, unless anybody else can topple him at the moment. So he's taken that by a mere 100th of a second. Keith Dempsey 200th back as well, so it was super close at the head of the field. Of course, it was Keith versus Josh that was on that lap 1 of the feature. The two of them coming together in the feature race, and that is, of course, still being looked at the moment. So I'll have to wait and see the outcome of that. But Keith Dempsey really got the bit between his teeth this week, and we'll wait to see what happens. Nicky Meredith going well. Dave Maguire in the top 5, of course, sitting in there, not too bad at the moment, in a decent place where he stands. And we have a slightly longer heat race now, 15 laps, because it's a shorter lap around here. So we've added those extra laps to give us a bit more action. And of course, remember, the second race of the evening is the reverse grid. So the top 15 are inverted, and we have 26 cars, I think, on the grid today. So that should be a good fight to watch. And of course, for all of you watching at home as well, don't forget to enter yourself into the giveaway for the SIMUCUBE Pro direct drive wheelbase worth over €1,000. Of course, just leave your driver of the day in the comments and you could be in with a chance to win that fantastic prize. As qualifying comes to an end, Josh Malin, that's another pole position. But this is going to be close, Kevin. There's less than half a tenth between our top three.
Yeah, and it's always extremely close at the top. We say the same thing every week, but I suppose, as you say, Jack, a shorter lap here around Laguna Seca, so that means the margins are even tighter. Not a tight track, though, in saying that the corkscrew is going to be a little bit tight, but other than that, it should be the kind of track that'll allow a good amount of racing.
Absolutely, indeed. So we're just getting to the end of qualifying right now before we grid up for this first race of the evening, the sprint race, and then the feature. Of course, each race counts as a round. So round 9 will be the sprint race, round 10 being feature, and big points on offer for each one. So each point will count. So Josh Malin, he'll want to replicate what he did in the feature race, or the sprint race in Long Beach, and get himself across the line with a dominant victory. But he's going to have some company, lots of company, let's say, from those two behind him. Here's your grid. Josh Malin on the pole for the second time in a row. Peter Dempsey lines up in second, and Keith Dempsey lines up on the second row next to Nicky Mayer. The Dave Maguire starting in 5th. Kevin Lacey starts in 6th, going well in P6. Well done, Kevin. Jonathan Brown in 7th. Arias Mantis, Jason Smith, and Richard Faulkner. Then it's Ronan Doherty and Brian McManus, last week's feature race winner. 1,000th of a second between those lads. Then Rory O'Shea and Wayne Douglas in P13 and P14. Richard Lyons and Niall Murray on the next row. And then it'll be Rob Moore and Sean McGovern. Tony Stack and Johnny McMullen starts in 20th. Then it's Fabrizio Rivera, the Italian, with Jordan Kelly all the way down in 22nd place. Peter McCann and in 23rd. And I don't think Chris McCann should be on the grid, but we'll have to wait and see. Those lads are pro-am, so they're giving it a go, at least, if they're mixing up. But I think we have 23 on the grid today, with Peter McCann starting at the tail end of the field. Chris McCann, Kevin Shine, pro-am.
That's a huge shock, Jackson. Just before we grid up, that Jordan Kelly's in P22. Obviously, must have had an issue with his qualifying. Must have gotten a 1X, which obviously cancelled out his lap. It's a very harsh punishment for Jordan, who's been in and around this championship for quite a while and had been pretty quick up until very recently. He's obviously dropped off a little bit since the last round, but that'll be disappointing to him as we get ready for Heat 1 here from coast to coast. We're going from the east to the west coast here for Heat 1 of the latest round of the iDMC at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, Jordan Kelly, disaster of a round last time out as well, also with penalties applied as well. So we're just waiting for the last few to grid up here. It's about 20 seconds until lights out here at Laguna Seca. Josh Malin, Peter Dempsey, and of course the stewards who worked so hard 2 weeks ago, Sean McGinley and Rob King, gluttons for punishment, back at it again for Laguna Seca here. So here we go then. Ticking down to the red lights coming on in front of Josh Malin for the second time in a row. He qualifies on pole. Peter Dempsey next to him and Keith right behind them. Here we go then at Laguna Seca. Red lights on in front of the drivers for round number 9. And we go green at Laguna Seca. Good start from Josh Malin. Good start from Peter Dempsey on the outside line as well. Decent as he comes over the top of the hill towards turn 1. Keith immediately up the inside of his brother here, down towards turn 1, and takes the position away, or should do at least, as they go side by side through turn 1. Little wiggle from Keith as he comes through. The two brothers fighting it out. This is going to cost them time. Josh Malin giving himself a nice gap there. His brother still going side by side behind. Peter Dempsey manages to get in front. Oh, he's going to lose it in front of his brother. He managed to avoid him, but Peter Dempsey spins in front of the pack, and they somehow avoid him. And Peter Dempsey ends up backwards in the wall, but the pack are managing to avoid him. Somehow Keith managing to get away with that, but Josh Malin clean out in front. Keith's into second, and Dave Maguire up to third, but that was very lucky. Well done to the rest of the pack, Kevin. Great driving by them.
Yeah, brilliant. And we talk about Peter and Keith Dempsey's ability to read each other's minds. I think Keith has even shown it off there. The ability to avoid Peter, who spot out right in front of him. That is years and years of experience shown by Keith to avoid that accident, to keep that second place. I'm amazed that he managed to avoid that. But fantastic stuff, and there isn't a huge, there was pretty clean go down there as well. Obviously, Arias Mantis now having an incident behind us. He spun, not sure if that was on contact, and we just see contact there as well. Richard Lyons involved in that one. Brian McManus, and I can't see it was Richard Faulkner, I think, were the two involved in that one, just as I say. But for Josh Malin, it's a great opportunity now. Look at that gap. You can see it as clear as day behind him. 1.3 seconds, and I don't think you've seen it after thus far in this championship. I can see another person going off there in the background on the final turn of the lap. But for Josh Malin, that will work out really nicely for him. He will be delighted to see Peter in front of him. Not so delighted to see that Keith managed to get around his brother, but still, for Josh Malin with a 1.4 second lead, which is being stretched out all the time here, it's a great opportunity for him to really stamp his authority on this championship.
Yeah, the man was running really well. That's Mickey Merida taking to the gravel. Of course, the cold tyres taking effect. So Jason Smith will be able to nip around the outside, and he does get into the next position there. And Josh Malin now leads ahead of Keith Dempsey by 1.2 seconds. Dave Maguire into third, and we'll be able to see now what he's able to do now. But you can see the gap slightly closing down. It's between Keith and Josh. Keith's getting after him, but Dave Maguire's right on his tail at the same time as well. So Josh will want to see Keith stay in front of Dave, because remember, they're in the championship fight at the moment between those two. Not much between them. There's only there's less than a race win between them at the moment. So it really is going to be a case of Josh being able to stay in front, but he's leading from the start, which is exactly what he did at Long Beach, and Keith going after him. Jonathan Brown. We have, I think we might have had a spin. It might have been contact in the last corner damage, but could have been just a slow speed contact going into the last corner, but that loses them a chunk of positions. Rob Moore will try and move up in front of him now, but that last corner is so notorious for just getting it wrong through there. It's tighter than it looks, and it's very easy to get a lock-up through that particular. As we see now, Josh Malin still leading from these guys in front. He's actually coming up to some lapped cars. Oh, we had a spinner. Kevin Lacey's lost it in the background there. Just seen him coming through the right-hander there. He manages to spin it, and unfortunately drops from 4th down to 12th and dropping further down. Just a shame for Kevin, who's running really nicely in that top 5, but he drops down the order now as a result of that small error. Rory Jay's all over the back of Wayne Douglas. Big old scrap going in here into the corkscrew. And does he get it stopped? Jordan, he started 20th. He's the champion of the previous season, and he's now trying to get himself a top 10 place right here. He's on the back of this big old train being led by Wayne Douglas. Rory O'Shea on the back. Johnny McMullen in the P9 position. Jordan Kelly chasing down. Rivera's in there too. So there's a big train right here at the head of the P7 at the moment. You can see O'Shea trying to move to the inside. Jordan Kelly looking for any kind of space on Johnny McMullen. Can't quite get alongside as he comes in. But this is great stuff. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 car train for P7. And we will wait and see what happens at the end.
I think Jack, we've just lost Jack there temporarily, but Jazzy was saying a fantastic train. A little bit of a slip there from Johnny McMullen in the background, but Josh Malin still very much in front here. That gap is now up to 1.7. Dave Maguire now 5/10 behind Keith Dempsey as well. And as Jack has said, that battle in the championship between those two very, very tight. Just 2 points between Dave Maguire and Keith Dempsey. And then obviously as you go up to Dave Maguire and Josh Malin, a 31-point advantage. You do remember that third place is 30, second place is 40, and first place is 50 points. So there's a huge difference between these in terms of placings. So for Josh Malin, another win here would see him, if he was to, if things were finished as they stand, he would indeed have a 50-point advantage, 51-point advantage over Dave Maguire with just 3 rounds left. Jack, do we have you? Are you back? Have you appeared? Oh, there's a spinner in the background, Johnny McMullen. Just saw that on the final corner. You can see that rejoin. It's reasonably okay as Kevin China being a mechanic get past him. I thought he might collect Peter as he was coming back out. But Jack, you have reappeared from the Narnia of the Internet Disconnection world.
I think I have, yeah. It's not nice in there, I can say. It's a bit dark. So, yeah, we're back. I thought I was speaking into the void for about 5 minutes there until I realised. But anyways, no worries. We're back, and I get to see this great. But I actually just saw while that was going on, I think Johnny McMullen actually just spun in the last corner, which drops him down to 17th place now. So that's going to drops him out of that battle. That was Wayne Douglas, Rory O'Shea, Jordan Kelly. That's a bit of a loose moment for one of the cars there. You can see Ari Simantis is being lapped at the moment, so Josh is coming up to the back of them. But I was mentioning, speaking into the internet void, Jordan Kelly 22nd up to 9th.
Massive for Jordan Kelly. We knew he was quick. Obviously, it must have just been an issue with not getting a lap in qualifying, as I was saying. But for Josh Malin, this is really awkward now because he's coming up to lap cars. These are cars that have already had incidents. They've had dirty tyres, cold tyres, often tyres that are flat spotting now at this point. So not as predictable as Dave Maguire now tries to move around the outside of Keith Dempsey into the Andretti hairpin. It looks like Keith will have the line into that corner, though. That is a very, very difficult place to get the job done around the outside of that corner. And Keith just making sure that he doesn't give anything easy to Dave Maguire. As I say, just 2 points between these guys in the championship with just 4 rounds left. So very much on the same pace. But Keith battling off Dave now with that toe, as we've seen. It's really, really effective in these USF 2000 cars. Although in Laguna Seca there aren't that many straight lines that you get an opportunity to get it into. So it'll be interesting to see whether Dave tries to dive down the inside of Andretti as we come back around for the next lap in about a half minute's time.
Yeah, absolutely. As they're battling here, you can see how much Josh is opening the gap out. It's now up to 2.7. It was up to momentarily up to 2.7, but now we go back to this battle here. Johnny McMullen in front of Kevin Shine right now as he tries to get himself into this next position in front. Was of course Johnny spun in the corkscrew, or actually the last corner, not the corkscrew. So Kevin's trying to now get himself up the order a little bit here, up into 16th place. Remember, 15th is reverse grid pole, and right now that is being occupied by none other than Peter McCann. Let's get Peter McCann on pole. I think we'd all like that.
Yeah, I think Peter, I don't think anybody in the iDMC world would be complaining if Peter had his moment of glory. He's up 8 places though from his race start. He was the other one, of course, apart from Jordan Kelly, who didn't get a lap in qualifying. So for Peter, it's gone pretty well. It seems to be a reasonably good strategy. Just don't bother qualifying and then make use of everyone else spinning out and just sail away past them.
Yeah, absolutely. So he knows what happens because remember he was usually one of the driver's stewards for the Pro-Am, so he knows exactly what happens over these course of the few laps. Now here's Peter Dempsey, who's had a bit of a shocker in the earlier on, of course, with the spin. He's making his way through now up to P11, up the inside of Rivera. Has a look nicely done by Peter Dempsey after the early spin, and did so well to spin out of the way of the pack. Seems to have avoided damage and is now charging his way up. Now he's got a 3.6 second deficit to make up, but that might be difficult to do. But we go back to this battle, we can see Keith not on the pace runner. Dave Maguire getting a great run towards the last corner, looks for the outside line here, trying to go around the outside of Keith. Keith will show him the outside there, and now let's see if Dave can get that run at the last corner. He's got a great exit out of the last corner. Surely now tries to go to the inside, there's no way through. Keith shows him the outside once again as they go down towards turn 1. Maguire in the 9 and Keith on the inside. Have the inside. Dave's going to try go all the way around the outside. He leaves him the room as he comes through the first corner again in Andretti, but there's no way through for Dave just yet. Now looks to the inside of the next corner, no way through there for him. But this is a great scrap. But each time they go through a corner side by side, they're losing a second out to Josh Malin each time, but Dave looking really good behind him right now.
Yeah, Dave's looking really, really strong here. But to be fair to Keith, he's holding them off for the moment. He's not really giving him a good opportunity to get in and overtake. And for Dave, it's frustrating, but he's got to stick with it. He's got to stay patient. There's a lot riding on this for him. Always the opportunity that Keith, however unlikely it seems, might be an opportunity that Keith might make a mistake. So you've just got to try and stay with it, as he looks like he might make a move down into the corkscrew, but I don't think he's going to make that happen. As that 18-meter drop, as we say, it is an absolutely enormous drop as they go now into T9. All about keeping it on the limit here through T9. Very hard to, very easy, should I say, to spin out there, lose your thing. As Dave goes wide, he manages to hold it into the pit exit, and he's still on it here. But that was a heart and mouth moment as Dave, a bit of oversteer again as he goes through the final turn. as we head down towards the Andretti hairpin again, T2. This is T1, the little kink heading down into it. Will Dave try a move? He's very cold tires. We've seen him sliding before. Keith slightly shows him the door, but Dave doesn't quite take it. He does have a better exit, however, than Keith, but Keith gets away quicker than Dave mid-corner, and this battle rages on. It's a fantastic one, as we see a lap 2 incident involving cars number 7 and 3 under investigation. Jack, I'll leave you to take over. I'll just have a quick look at that.
Dave runs wide again through the right-hander and drops a bit of time, but was looking at the lap times. That by Josh Malin 1.1 seconds quicker than Keith Dempsey on that lap alone. It was the fastest lap of the race by Josh Malin, and these guys, of course, fighting each other, costing each other time. And Josh is now 5.2 seconds in front of them, but that is simply just a spin in front, so that could cost you a lot of time. But Jonathan Brown up to 4th now. Ronan Doherty runs in 5th as a result of that. Wayne Douglas had a spin. He's dropped down to 9th place right now, so that promotes Jordan Kelly up to 7th right now. Remember, he started 22nd on the grid, and he's making a great drive up through the field. Much better day at the office for Jordan than it was at Long Beach. It was a disaster. 15 places up the order from where he started, trying to catch up to Niall Murray now at the same time. I will wait and see what that happens. Kevin, have you got an update on that incident?
Incident is involving cars number 3 and 7, as we say, as that is Brian McManus and Rob Moore. Nothing from the stewards yet, but those are the two parties involved. Whichever one is the aggrieved and which is the accused, I'm not sure, but we shall see with 5 laps left of this opening heat. And Jack, it's been a really fantastic heat. This battle between Keith and Dave has kind of, I suppose, caught our attention the most, with Josh Malin disappearing down the road. And for Josh, he couldn't really have asked for a better one, as it looks like Peter Dempsey's just put in a fastest lap of the race, a 1:21.5 for him. He's in 10th place. And as we say, that battle for 15th, Peter McCann still in 15th place. Kevin Shine behind them by about 1.6 seconds, as we see Peter and Wayne Douglas here. Peter's going to go in down the inside of Wayne Douglas. That's a nice move there, heading up the hill towards the corkscrew. That was through T6, which could be an awkward one, as that left-hander, you get that wrong, especially that big sausage curve on the inside. If you tip that, you are a goner. As we go back to the front, or at least to 2nd place, Keith Dempsey now. Dave getting a good run out of the corkscrew, goes down the inside. This is where Dave went wide last lap, remember. Got a bit of oversteer as well on the exit of this corner. He's having to hold up a little bit. Keith is slow in and fast out, and I suppose that's what you want to see, as now Murray takes a trip down. Trying to see where that is. Is that in T9? Or I think it's T10 actually. He goes wide there going into the final corner, so he's dropping down the order now into 14th. That promotes Fabrizio Rivera into 10th place. Yeah, that's what I was just saying there about that T9. It's so easy to get that wrong. It's so easy to lose traction there, to run a little bit wide, get a little bit of a understeer, then all of a sudden your cars have swapped ends and your engine's facing the wrong way. And Dave Maguire now is overtaking Keith Dempsey into 2nd place just as that was going on, Jack.
Yeah, so Dave's finally got the job done. I think he finally got it into the Andretti hairpin at last. So Dave moves into 2nd, but now look at the gap up to Josh, 7.5 seconds. But this will minimise the damage that this will do in the championship, of course. He's got one that he managed to pull off. So he tried a few times, tried to figure it out, and eventually he managed to make his way past Keith, but it certainly wasn't easy. It took him a few laps, but he certainly looks like the quicker man at the moment, and can now try and bring the gap down, or just maybe capitalise on a mistake. We saw Niall Murray spinning earlier on. He's now down to 14th place, so that'll put him at the moment 2nd on the grid for the reverse grid, as he chases after Tony Stack. Tony Stack's in front of him at the moment, and he might be relegated now. Tony trying to defend against Niall, and he looks for the inside. Niall goes for it in the last corner, and Tony just opens the steering, lets him straight through. I think he's already thinking maybe that reverse grid.
Yeah, I think Tony has his sights set on bigger things in the feature race, just allowing Niall through there. And I suppose he knows he's the faster man anyway. Niall, where he was running in the position before he made that mistake, so Tony's happy enough to leave Niall through there. As we say, Dave, a good opportunity now for Dave Maguire to make up a little bit of distance in that championship battle. As we say, just 2 points between them in the championship thus far, but that if Dave finishes ahead of Keith where he is, I think that's an 10-point swing or a 20-point swing. So Dave now goes from potentially being 12 points behind Keith Dempsey, or sorry, should I say 8 points behind Keith Dempsey, now goes to, if I'm right in saying, 50 and 40, 12 points ahead. So that would be a huge difference between the two of them.
Yeah, and so you can see he's pulled 1.3 seconds over Keith already, so he has got the pace. Maybe if he'd got a bit earlier, he could have maybe chased after our leader, who hasn't actually dipped out of the 21s yet. Josh is flying out in front and is putting in, this is a mirror image ready in the 21s. He's matching Josh's pace at the moment, so if Dave maybe got the qualifying a bit better, he could have maybe challenged Josh, but he's at least minimising the points damage. Josh will get another 50 points to add on and add another win to the tally. Will now become the driver with the most wins in the championship thus far. But we know what happened in Long Beach. He had a perfect sprint race and then a disastrous feature race. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. It's always, if he's going to have to be starting 15th on the grid for the feature. So it did go terribly, terribly wrong in the feature last time. But let's see what he can do. But certainly at the moment, it's looking good for him. Tony Stack chasing after Kevin Lacey, now trying to make up a position.
Yeah, Tony Stack on the move here, and as we say, he let Niall Murray back reasonably quickly, so we thought that Tony was happy enough to hang back and take that first spot on the front of the grid for the feature race, but he is getting a bit racy now with Kevin Lacey in front of him. I suppose, look, if there's different paces, what can you do? You know, you can't just hang behind the guy for the rest of the race, even though we do only have one lap left after this. But for Tony Stack, I suppose an opportunity to make up points here and still finish reasonably high up the grid. I think a lot of these guys will expect to be overtaken over the course of the feature race, just judging on the pace that some of these guys have. Like, look at Jordan Kelly, where he started and where he's ended up since. But nonetheless, a good opportunity for some of the back to make up some points. As Tony got that job done now on Kevin Lacey, so Tony Stack into 13th position. We're on board with Peter Dempsey here, chasing down Rory O'Shea. This is a nice little battle as we head into the penultimate lap of the latest round of the iDMC here at Laguna Seca. And Jack, to be fair, a sprint race, particularly compared to last week's carnage at Long Beach, that's gone reasonably well. There's been a lot of good racing, but fair racing.
Yeah, I think it's been a lot. It's definitely been a lot better than we had in Long Beach. I think it was no holds barred in Long Beach. I think the guys have really calmed down this week and been driving really nice. Got a car off on the corkscrew, and there is car 7 and car 3. No further action as Peter Dempsey throws up the inside of Rory O'Shea. Rory just opened the door, let him straight through. So Peter on a recovery driver here. Final lap, by the way. Malin 8.6 seconds out in front, 21.7. The previous lap. Kepta has been consistently in the 1 minute 21s the whole way through. Dave 22.4, but he's lapping quicker than Keith. And Keith's actually now, he's under a bit of pressure because he's been caught up now, Jonathan Brown and by Ronan Doherty. So Keith is not out of the woods yet. You can see him. There's Jonathan Brown in the number 11 car trying to chase down a potential podium. He sees an opportunity here and could maybe steal this off of Keith. It's going to be tough enough. He needs to be quite close to him going into the last corner, but Jonathan now on a big charge. There's Dave, who's going to at least pick up a second place and start next to Josh, or ahead of Josh in the next race by one position, albeit. So it's a small gain, but he'll lose points in this race. So it's a cash 22 in this one, but Jonathan Brown trying to make his presence known to Keith Dempsey at the moment, chasing him down in this last bit of the race. He's not got a lot of opportunities left. He's got basically one more, and that's the last corner. But it will be, as we come to the slide through the last corner, exactly like it was in Long Beach, utter domination. Once again, big slide out of the last corner. Josh Malin goes back-to-back in the sprint races. He wins round one of the evening. He wins at Laguna Seca. Dave Maguire recovers up to second place, and Keith will hang on just about against Jonathan Brown. He gets fourth, and Roland Doherty will get fifth. But Jordan Kelly, fair play to Jordan, 22nd up to sixth. Great drive, 16 places gained. Kept his head down and got the job done. Dempsey, O'Shea, Rivera, just about ahead of Rob Moore. That's Rob Moore on his tail. Very close as they come across the line. Douglas Murray, Tony Stack, Kevin Lacey, and exactly what we want to see. Peter McCann will start from pole in the feature.
Yeah, Peter McCann starting on pole in the feature. But to be fair, this is one of those races for Peter Dempsey that the stats lie for him, because as you look at it, it'll say that he's, finished 7th, finished 5 places down from where he started. What a fantastic recovery to drive. Got the fastest lap on track with a 1:21.56. Did Peter, and after such a disappointing start, to knuckle down and get yourself back into the top 7, even just the top 10 was a fantastic drive for Peter Dempsey. But what a drive from Jordan Kelly, 16 places up into 6th place. But for Josh Malin, that was easy peasy, Jack, wasn't it? I don't think he was expecting it. Even he wasn't expecting it to be that simple.
No, it was superb from Josh. He did the exact same thing last week. Qualified on pole, ran away with it as the guys fought behind. But he's now got to think about the feature. He's going to be starting 15th. Here's your official results then. Josh Malin taking another win in the sprint race ahead of Dave Maguire by 9.8 seconds. Keith Dempsey finishes 3rd, but just about in front of Jonathan Brown. Roland Doherty gets a 5th place. Jordan Kelly, 16 places gained. He's up to 6th. Peter Dempsey, great recovery to 7th. Rory O'Shea and Rivera, the teammates, 8th and 9th. And Rob Moore finishes 10th. Wayne Douglas. Then it'll be Niall Murray, Tony Stack. And our front row will be Kevin Lacey and Peter McCann for the feature race. Johnny McMullen just outside there. Kevin Shine, Nicky Meredith, and Brian McManus. And no further action between himself and the number 3 car that was deemed a racing incident. Richard Faulkner, Sean McGovern, Arius Mantis, Richard Lyons, and Jason Smith. 24 cars in this one.
And if you're wondering, I was just having a quick look through the YouTube comments, and thanks to all of you for watching on YouTube and indeed on Facebook, on whatever way you want to catch us. And do remember, you can leave a comment for your driver of the day to be in a chance of winning that SIMUCUBE 2 Pro Sim Base. I haven't done it yet. I need to do it about 60 times, although I fear if I do win it, then it's going to be taken off me for some sort of issue. But I could really do with a direct drive with. But if anybody has any on the go, by the way, you know where to find me. The little bit of I suppose confusion about Chris McCann being involved is that Chris actually went to sign up as a spectator and accidentally registered as a driver. So that's why he's up on the grid. So Chris, you need to pay more attention, my friend. Pay more attention when you're registering. Because,
we can't lie. We've done that. We've done it before, though. We've done it before.
I have to say, we were doing Sebring this weekend, and it took me about 3 goes to be like, okay, this is definitely right. I can definitely click register. I'm not going to leave anybody out. And even then, I'd heart palpitations. It's like the iRacing version of leaving the immersion on. You never think you've done it right. You're always afraid after you've done it that you've done it wrong. But remember that SIMUCUBE 2 Pro. It is a fantastic bit of kit, and thank you very much to SIMUCUBE for their sponsorship. But Jack, this is going to be our last race in the United States of this season. We're going to be leaving the States now after this.
Yeah, we're heading up to Canada for the next, up to Montreal to finish out the season, which is going to be great fun. Of course, you're all familiar with it if you watch Formula One, of course, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. So interesting circuit, and it's not one that's often used. It will be great to see how that gets on. But I'm glad we eventually got a Sebring reference into there. I knew it'd be in there somewhere.
It took me longer than you expected. So
I know. Yeah, I thought I'm surprised we lasted this long without mentioning Sebring. Kevin, would you mind telling us your results at Sebring?
Yeah, well, we finished as a what would they say? What's the word even? Subtly mentioned at Bathurst that we finished second in Bathurst with our team. Well, we entered Sebring, and I think we've been racing team events with Wildfire for around about a year, just over a year, and we finished P1, had a great battle with P2, and there was a little bit of strategy. I kind of spent all week working on strategy, and it was the first kind of proper full race that I was looking after a car, that I was kind of team captain, as it were, and did the paints and did the scheduling, and it turned out that we ran a little bit of extra time on the laps. We ran a few extra laps to begin with, ran a few maps down, and that ended up taking the car over to victory. So I did my shoey yesterday. That's one of the there is actually genuinely a stipulation that if we get a podium, if we win with the team, then we have to do a shoey on camera. So I took my old smelly Adidas runner that I'd been wearing in work all day, took it off, poured a half a can into it, and down the throat it went. So yeah, it was a good way. I can assure you that didn't happen tonight. We're much more professional than that. But as we grid up, but thank you very much, Jack. It was a nice little achievement for us to do that. So onwards and upwards to Nürburgring.
Absolutely, looking forward to that. I'll throw in there, we got second, so there's our one. So we did well. Us commentators can drive. Who say we can't drive? So, absolutely. Oi! Anyway, here's the grid for this feature race. Of course, Peter McCann on the pole with Kevin Lacey next to him and Tony Stack. So some veterans on the front row. Here we go for the feature race of the night. Peter McCann on pole. It's away we go. Great start from Peter and a great start from Tony Stack with the second row of the grid as they head up towards turn 1. It looks like Tony might be able to get alongside Peter down towards turn 1 here. Good stuff. Oh, there's going to be cones demolished as Wayne Douglas gets forced to the inside. Peter McCann holds the inside as they come round turn number 1. Good stuff from them. Peter leads. Tony Stack goes around the outside and manages to stay in front of Wayne Douglas for now. But it's great. Oh, we got 3 cars in there. That's Peter Dempsey, Kevin Lacey and Niall Murray. Oh, there's another spinner as well. Keith is around. Keith is around at the same corner his brother went off in the first race and somehow keeps out of the wall, avoids everyone. And both the brothers are down there. But it's Peter McCann, Tony Stack, Wayne Douglas, and Josh Malin and Dave Maguire have stayed together, 6th and 7th. They started 14th and 15th respectively, but Josh has had a great start, much better than he had in Long Beach, but clean stuff from the top guys at least.
Yeah, that's a disaster for Keith. Absolute nightmare. They're the exact same, as you say, the exact same spot as his brother did. He saw his brother did it in race 1 and followed him in afterwards. That must be so frustrating. And for Niall Murray as well, to again be caught up in an incident early on in the race. This 20-lap feature here at Laguna Seca. As we see another car go wide, and looks like somebody's going to go off. Is that Wayne Douglas? It looks like took a trip off there. That is not the line you want through that T7 as Wayne goes way down now into 18th. And for Peter McCann, he's been pretty pleased because there's a big gap now between Tony Stack and Fabrizio Rivera, and gaps down the grid there with all that action as we see Ronan Doherty now trying to move around the outside. They're going to be 3 wide here going into the Andretti hairpin.
Oh, 3 abreast of the RAC Mathis on the inside line. Ronan Doherty in the middle. Jordan Kelly is trying, Brian McManus, is trying to find his way through as they fight it out here. Jason Smith's involved in this one too. Big scrap going in there. It's going to be good stuff. Rory O'Shea moves up to 3rd. Josh Malin's already on the back of the podium. Dave Maguire is basically using him as a bulldozer to get past everyone as we see nearly 3 wide down towards the corner there. Dave Maguire looks to the inside of Fabrizio Rivera and does get the job done. So Dave is chasing down Josh Malin at the moment. Josh had an epic start, so he's done exactly what he wanted to do and avoid what happened in Long Beach and trying to go 2 in a row here. But Peter McCann still in the lead, 20 laps of the feature race to hang on and see if he can do it. Tony Stack goes after him. Rory O'Shea 3rd. There's Malin. There's Maguire as Rob Moore and Jordan Kelly, they fight it out through there. But actually, no, Rob Moore has had a spin, I think, and the corkscrew, yeah, he has to now do an awkward 3-point turn to get back pointing to the right direction. Careful, Rob, as he tries to reverse there. But it's three laps completed. Peter McCann still there, but you'll have Josh Malin with him very shortly.
Yeah, the hairpin is the corkscrew is not where you want to be doing a 3-point turn. Completely blind for any car coming over that. It's just too late to make any sort of impact on that. Rory O'Shea's gone fastest thus far in this lap at 1:22.6 as he locks up there. That's Rory O'Shea locking up there. As I say, yeah, it is Rory who's locked up, and Josh Malin now into 3rd position. And Dave Maguire is back down the road looking to... It's amazing how these guys just stick together. Josh's up 12 places and Dave Maguire up 9 places, both running in the top 5, and both in with a great chance of... Josh Malin has a brilliant chance of going back-to-back here, winning both races tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. It's up 9 places on the opening lap for Josh Malin now. He's up to 3rd, and he's got Tony Stack in his sights right now. And let's see if he's going to be able to make a move into the corkscrew. This is rapid stuff from the Englishman. He's already getting a run up towards the corkscrew here. He's going to maybe think about moving. No, he backs off of it, and he's going to wait. He knows there's a championship on the line right now, and he's got an opportunity to go for 2 wins, but he can't afford to back off too much because Dave Maguire, he's not far behind him. Also, Rory O'Shea is kind of sticking with him a bit here as they head through towards turn number 9, sticking in there with Josh Malin now with a good lineup on him right there. A small gap for Peter now. Josh going to be the inside line for the last corner, sticks it up the inside and moves up to 2nd place. Rory O'Shea finds the space as well. This could be maybe a 3 wide moment as Maguire gets in the slipstream of O'Shea down towards turn 1, but Malin moves into second. Here we go, down towards turn 1. Maguire looks for some room that just isn't there. Is he going to go for a double overtake on the inside? Yes, he is. Dave Maguire throws a double overtake down the inside. Perfect driving. And again, the two of them stick together, but that was great, opportunistic from Dave. Found the space, went for it.
Ballsy is the word I would use to describe that. 3 wide going into the entry, the Andretti hairpin, and made sure that he was latest on the brakes. And really fantastic move. And again, Tony Stack being pinned. We saw that earlier on the feature race with, or the heat race, should I say, with Kevin Shine. I think it went down the inside of him, being pinned around the outside there of that final corner and being pushed way back. But for Josh Malin now, as you say, a fantastic opportunity for him. And really, Jack, with the woes that have befallen Keith Dempsey and Niall Murray in this race, and with Peter Dempsey as well, of course, Alex Dunn not here, this is rapidly turning into a 2-horse race for the iDMC Winter 2021 Championship after this round. This could be the round that sees Josh Malin and Dave Maguire push away from the rest, and really we'll go into a final week showdown at Montreal between these two. This is the way it's looking at the moment. If things stand as they are, a lot of racing yet though. 16 laps left, 15 laps as Peter McCann crosses the line left here at Laguna Seca. Sorry, 16 laps, should I say, as Peter McCann crosses the line. But fantastic racing thus far, and what a race thus far from Josh Malin. What an evening thus far for him.
Absolutely. Jordan Kelly going for Tony Stack. Jordan's had a much better day today, and as well Keith recovering well at the moment. He's back up to 8th place now. Lap 1 incident involving car 25, car 34 is under investigation by the stewards, so we'll see what the outcome of
Niall
that
Murray
is.
Anyway, Niall Murray and Peter Dempsey are the two involved in that one, so it must have been the 2 turn 3 guys taking each other out, and that is not what you want to see.
Yeah, that's definitely not wouldn't be nice in the team camp. Right there, we're looking at Brian McManus as he tries to go for a move on Richard Lyons, who's running in the top 10. Brian, of course, took a win in the feature last time out in Long Beach, but we'll see if that's going to be happening now. But Josh goes for it and takes the lead of the race. So Josh is leading this feature race right now. He's over. Oh no! And that is Peter been sent around, and Dave spun in the background with a broken rear suspension. Dave Maguire is going to be out, and that is a massive moment for the championship. He's right in the middle of the road, has to tow back because he's in the middle of the road. But this is a huge opportunity for Josh Malin right now. Dave Maguire will no score in the feature race if he doesn't get back out on the circuit. That's an absolute disaster for Dave. I think he was just a bit unlucky there, caught up in that one. But Josh Malin, 15th, up to the lead, and can go for a full score.
Yeah, I'd love to see that incident again, Jack. I think you've just slightly disconnected, but I would love to see that incident again. That sees Dave Maguire out. What an unfortunate thing for Dave. He's been really the dark horse of this championship. I don't think anybody kind of predicted him to be up there and fighting, having been in the Pro-Am category, of course, in the M4 and M8. We see Peter McCann there and Dave Maguire involved in it. That was down through the corkscrew, but we would like to have seen a little bit more leading into that. We're going to go back now and have a look at it. Peter McCann from VRA Racing, of course, and it looks like it was Dave threw it down the inside. Oh, Peter went a bit squally. Dave kept his line and then turned him around, and that's just an unfortunate thing. Peter then kept rolling, and that was where the rear suspension damage took. Peter just slightly lost it mid-corner, and unfortunately Dave just couldn't slow himself down to the corner. It's just one of those unfortunate things that happened to Dave Maguire. But really now for Josh Malin, with a 1.7 second advantage now ahead of Rory O'Shea, having already taken the win in race 1. This really is the evening where he's rubber stamped his position on the iDMC Winter Season 2021.
Absolutely, yeah, and I don't think there's ever been a race where this season at least where a driver has won both races in the evening. So this could be something to add to the history books for this year. Anyway, Josh Malin trying to go double in a row as we now look at the battle for the podium. Jordan Kelly has a shot at it. Look at this. Jordan up to 4th. He's chasing off Jonathan Brown. Has a chance at 2nd, never mind 3rd, as he tries to bear down. On there emerges Dave Maguire in 17th place. So he comes out behind all these guys as we go on board now with Jordan Kelly, who is driven up 6 places where he started. We know Jordan is quick. He's a former champion of the series last season and has had a pretty terrible run of it this season. But nonetheless, having a much better day at the office there today than he did in Long Beach, at least. Trying to go for a double point score at least, or maybe even get himself on the podium, which would be great stuff. It's actually been a little while since we saw Jordan on the podium, which is rare enough. But he's on the charge now against Jonathan Brown, who's trying to get a double podium finish as well right here. Into the corkscrew he goes, and is not able to get a move on just yet, but as we come to the end of the championship, I think Jordan will be, I don't think he'll be too pleased with how his championship's gone, but maybe he can finish a bit stronger.
Yeah, and he's fastest thus far in terms of lap time. His last was a 1:21.9, which as far as I can see is the fastest lap in this feature race thus far. Jordan will be happy enough, as you say, with tonight's work. As you say, Jack has been disappointed from overall, but really you look at Josh Malin again, 1:22 crossing the line. A 2-second now gap between himself and Rory O'Shea. He's made up 0.3 of a second there just in that last minute or so, and he seems absolutely locked in, does Josh Malin. And that's the thing for a lot of these guys. You know, that opening race is a really good sighter for them. If you can get locked into that groove, then by the time you hit the feature race, you're well on it. You're not starting cold at all. And as you can see with that start from Josh Malin, what an incredible start to this feature race. And to be fair to Josh, he was very, very unfortunate with internet issues last time in the BMW series, that unfortunately he was leading at Spa and then disconnected. He absolutely deserves this every step of the way, because even just to perform within this feature race, to be able to get yourself up there, avoid all the incidents in what's been a pretty hectic start to the race, and establish what is now a 2.3 second lead at the front of the field after only 8 laps, 14 places made up, and Josh Malin, all he could do was bow down. A superb performance from the Englishman.
Yeah, it really, really is. And actually, we just had someone make a very good point in the chat that Josh only just qualified for the Pro Championship. Remember, he was the last driver to make it in by a couple of hundredths, and now he's the championship leader. So it just shows you how close it really was. He was the last driver to make it into the Pro Championship. It almost ended up in the Pro-Am Championship. Imagine that. As we look now, but back to this battle again. No change for position just yet, but Jordan's really all over the back of Jonathan Brown, who is also all over the back of Rory O'Shea, who's desperate to hang on to a podium here, but there's still lots of time left in this race. Still over 10 laps remaining in this longer feature race of the evening, which is nice to see. We have a longer race here. As Jordan almost pushing Jonathan through the right-hander there. As up to the left-hander they will come. No moves on just yet, being patient at the moment, but seems to have that pace. But all the time they stay behind Rory, the more time they're losing to Josh. Is now 3 seconds up the road. No one is able to touch him at the moment on board now. With Jonathan Brown, you can see a man who's also making the recovery is Keith Dempsey. Remember, he spun on the opening lap. He's back up to 5th as there he goes and through into 5th place. He's got the bit between his teeth today. He's not had the perfect day, but nonetheless he's made it up, and he's trying to get back up to these guys. And Keith, of course, remember, he's fighting with Dave in the championship at the moment, so he's lost points in the previous race but could be able to get a big score over Dave. So it's going to be interesting to see what that's going to be like. But Jordan now smells a podium, and it'd be great to see him back on the podium. It's been a bit of a dry spell, a bit of an oversteer moment through the last corner there, and he now has another 10 laps to try and get past. Plenty of time yet, just biding their time at the moment.
And as we say as well, just a quick word for two guys that we haven't mentioned much in this race, but another two fantastic drives is Jonathan Brown, of course, who was angling for a podium but was just held off in the last moments of the sprint race. He's up into 3rd place now, so does have a chance at that podium. And also Richard Lyons as well, running 6th at the moment. He's up 17 places from where he began, so a fantastic race for him and an opportunity for Richard as well to get some championship points on the board. That's always really nice, especially as you're approaching the latter end of the championship. It's nice to get those little bonus points on the board and get your name there.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely Richard Lyons on a good drive, 17 places up from where he started. So he's just been passed by Keith, but I don't think he'll mind too much with the rate he's going on at the moment. So good stuff from him. This battle rages on. Rory O'Shea still trying to hang on to 2nd. Jordan getting very close to the back of that turn 3 car into the corkscrew. Nearly went into the back of him. He's a lot more confident, seems, on the brakes. And again through there, he has a little look through the left-hander. He gets close through this sector, but maybe he's lining up for the last corner. On board we go with Jordan Kelly. Jonathan Brown, where's he going to go? Jordan Kelly switches back to the inside, tries to go late on the brakes, can't get alongside Jonathan Brown, who's able to go late on the brakes through there. And they'll now have a run down towards turn number 1. It looks like a good run for Jordan this time, better than he had last time. Might be able to pull alongside Jonathan down towards turn 1 here. Looks to the outside, little twitch from him there as they head into the break-ins off of the Andretti hairpin. Looks to the outside line, can't quite get alongside. Jonathan is defending this very nicely, hanging on, not losing too much time either. But the benefit as well, of course, in the new update, Laguna Seca, that last corner, you can use all of the curb now on the outside. It used to give you a 1x using that curb, but now you can use all of it. So the drivers are really taking full advantage of this. But Jordan Kelly is still not able to get past Jonathan here. Jonathan's really making that car wide.
Yeah, it's and that was an absolutely ridiculous 1x point there. I wouldn't mind them to do the same at Spa in some areas. But yeah, really good stuff from Jonathan Brown. And I suppose, again, for Jordan, it's just been a frustrating championship for him. But I wonder this time around, will he hang off a little bit? Because he tried to dive down the inside of the final turn. And then that kind of hampered his exit, compromised his exit going down into the Andretti hairpin, which is where we've seen a lot of those moves taking place. So it'll be interesting to see now as we sweep through turn 10 and heading down into turn 11. As you see, Jordan's going to hang back now this time. He's learned his lesson. He's going to try and get a good exit out of T11 and potentially challenge Jonathan into the Andretti hairpin. There isn't a huge amount changing in that distance. It's going down though. We're down to 9 tenths, 8 tenths, 7 tenths, 6 tenths. Jordan's going to have to hang around the outside of the hairpin, which is the move that we saw Dave Maguire pull off on Keith Dempsey. Can't get it done, however, Jordan, and he's back to square one again. This is frustrating, but 8 laps left, plenty of time for Jordan Kelly to attack Jonathan Brown, but a good opportunity here nonetheless. Jack, you are guffawing. What is it you are guffawing at, I ask?
Jordan had just had the biggest slide through turn 3. He got on the grass on the way in, held on to it. You can see how much he's fallen back now behind Jonathan by that, but well held Jordan Kelly. Scary moment, but you can see Keith is flying up behind them. He's pulling a second and a bit each lap on these lads in front. So Keith's on a big charge, pulled up to 3.3 seconds. But Jordan, bit of a scary moment. He's going to need some new overalls after that one. Full lock to the left through a right-hander is not ideal. Drops back behind Jonathan Brown, and Jonathan now has a little bit of a chance now to attack Rory O'Shea, but nobody's attacking this man. 4.5 seconds out in the lead, Josh Malin.
Yeah, as you say, Keith Dempsey flying a 1:21.447 and last lap. That is the quickest lap of this race thus far. I think it's the quickest lap of the day, because I think 1:21.6 was the quickest that we saw in the heat race, as Josh just posts a 1:21.7. He's extremely, when you look at Josh's lap times, his last one was a 1:21.71. He moved out the inside now from Jonathan Brown on Rory O'Shea. It looks like Jonathan, can he get that second place? He's got it done. Rory leaving the door open into the Andretti hairpin. He's going to come back at him. Jonathan now taking the inside line into this infield section, as I'm trying to find my corner names as we're going through T4 now. Those T3 and T4, similar enough corners, late apexes, and as we now barrel down into turn 5, heading up the hill towards that awkward left-hander turn 6. Jonathan, I thought he got the job done there, and Rory O'Shea, but good driving, as the three of these now are separated by a hair's width between the three of them.
Yeah, that's allowed Jordan to drag himself back up to the back of them now, as Jonathan's going to go for it into the corkscrew. Thought about it. Jordan has to go to the outside now. He's definitely not going to try around the outside of the corkscrew. But this is just costing them time. Keith is closing in little by little each time. And again, Jordan taking that tighter line against Jonathan, is not able to get up alongside him through there. He's trying to force him wide a little bit. And again, a little bit of a wide moment for Jonathan now. Into the last corner they'll come. He's going to get the run. There is Keith, and he's hunting them down. Let's have a look at the lap times this time by. You'll see he'll be very close. 21.7 for Josh as they come across the start-finish line now. 22.8, so a second slower each time. And Keith is a 21.8, so he's closing in at nearly half a second a lap on these guys. Jordan trying to go for that outside line again, but he runs himself wide, costs himself a bit of time. But this is getting very, very interesting now. Mixing Keith into the mix will be certainly an interesting battle between these guys. Dave Maguire is a lap down, of course. He'll be hoping. This is the position he was fighting for not too long ago. And Keith running off the track. You can see he's pushing now, trying to use all the track and a little bit more. But he is closing in. He'll be hoping that this gets a little bit more feisty in front, or maybe that they come to blows so he can get himself on the podium, which would be a great recovery drive after lap 1. Yeah,
fantastic recovery drive from Peter and from Keith. As I said, it's been a really, really good. There's been a couple of really, really good recovery drives here. But just to bring it back to Josh Malin, not that we've talked about him enough today, but he has been absolutely supreme. His last 3 laps have been a 1:21.7, 121.1, a 121.72, and a 121.73. Like, that consistency is just a sign of a man absolutely locked in to his line and has this course down at the back of his hand. Jordan Kelly now going to try and move around the outside again. He's further up than he was last time. He's going to inch ahead into the Andretti hairpin, but Jonathan does have the inside line, and he's going to hold that position. Jordan's going to come back at him now with the switch back as we go towards turn 4. He's going to go around the outside again. Jonathan covering it off. That's defensive drive. He's going to have to hold his line as Jordan now dives down the inside, and Jordan is going to take that third position. That is great driving by Jordan Kelly, and to be fair, Jack, that was coming, I think.
Yeah, great stuff from Jordan Kelly there. Opportunity. He tried it in a place that maybe Jonathan wasn't expecting into turn 2, so that's good effort from Jordan. Up onto the podium now, but that small battle has brought Keith right into the frame now. He's 1.4 behind, right on board with Jonathan now as he chases after Rory O'Shea as well in front. But there's not long left in this race now. 5 laps to go across the start-finish line, so this is going to get a little bit more intense as we head into the final few laps. But Jonathan trying to now hang on. As we look back from him, you can see that's Keith Dempsey chasing them down. There he is. He's up 8 places where he started, but that doesn't quite tell the story. Spinning on lap number 1. There's Josh Malin about to begin. Lap 16 of 20 gets past Arias Imantas, who is a lap down. Remember Arias, what a difference 2 weeks makes. He was fighting for the win in Long Beach. And remember the crash between himself and Dave Maguire, which handed Brian McManus the win. Brian's running 7th at the moment in this race, not doing a bad job at all. As over the top of the hill they come. There's Brian, up 12 places from where he started, basically at the back. Did Brian, and he's on for a consistent result, a consistent points finish. But Rory O'Shea's held on very well, hasn't he? Despite all this battling, he's got so much pressure from behind and is trying desperately to secure himself his first Pro Series podium.
Yeah, it'd be a fantastic achievement for Rory, and he was under pressure there from Jonathan Brown earlier on. It seems like Jonathan must have made that mistake to allow Jordan back at him, because it looked like there was a bit of a gap between those two initially when Jordan had that moment, a slight sideways moment that he managed to catch. Rory now, a nice little gap behind him, 0.5 of a second. It's not enough probably to keep him out of the reckoning with that toe, but nonetheless, you'd be much rather be 0.5 ahead than 0.5 behind. So an instant between one of these, if Jordan and Jonathan get sucked back into it, although I suspect that Jordan will start pulling away now from Jonathan Brown in 3rd position. Jordan, will he try and move around the inside here? We saw that earlier on, that he decided to hold off and make that move around the outside. He's going to do that. Not a brilliant exit though. Didn't quite get into the apex as he would have liked, and didn't quite get on the loud pedal as quickly as he would have liked. Still making up time though, however. It's down to 1/10 of a second now as we head into the Andretti hairpin. Through T1 we are, and Jordan now into T2 around the outside of Rory O'Shea. And once again, Rory battles off. That was the same position that he was chatting about Jonathan Brown. Jordan goes a little bit wide, but he's going to hold the inside line here going into turn 3. Rory's going to pinch him in the inside, because Jordan exactly where he did the exact same move that he did on Jonathan Brown. I suppose Rory probably wasn't looking in his rearview mirror, didn't get a chance to analyse it, but Jordan, the exact same move down the outside of the Andretti, then cutting down the inside for turn 3, or turn 4 should I say, making that move into 2nd position, and now 0.8 behind Josh Malin, who really, Jack, that is the headline of this both races tonight, is that Josh Malin has massively extended his advantage at the top of the iDMC Winter 2021 season. And with only 2 races left, of course, in Montreal, it's really his to throw away at this point.
Yeah, it really is. As now, oh, look at that, what that battling's done. Here's Keith Dempsey. He wants a part of the action now on the back of Jonathan Brown, trying to get into 4th place. But that was superb from Jordan. And there's a move from Keith up the inside. No holds barred, straight into 4th place. Now chasing after Rory O'Shea and Jordan Kelly. But that was great stuff from Jordan. Had the foresight to throw it around the outside and managed to just keep his nose enough that Rory had to give him some space for the inside. And Josh Malin, as if it couldn't get any better for him, fastest lap of the race as well on lap 18. So he's flying. He's completely in sync with his car, and in sync with the car and everything. So he's doing an excellent job. But Rory O'Shea still in there in 3rd place. He just needs to hang on for a few more laps, and he'll get himself on the Pro Series podium. Of course, he was in the Pro-Am, if my memory serves me right, in the BMW Series. So he's now in the Pro Series, and he hasn't managed to get himself on the podium yet. As we now see, this is going to be a good fight. Kevin Shine up the inside of Peter McCann. Can he get that stopped? Yes, he can. So Kevin Shine into the top 10. Good effort from Kevin so far. And gets past Peter, who on pole was tapped around by Dave Maguire earlier on. But just 2 laps to go across the stripe now. Jordan's not getting away from Rory, though. He's not letting him go at all.
Not at all. Not in the way that I expected at all. I thought Jordan might push away from Rory having made that move, but Rory's sticking with him and still holding that advantage over Keith Dempsey in 4th place. I will be interested to see what the turn 3 debrief will be like now between the incident between Niall Murray and Peter Dempsey, and of course Keith taking Jonathan down the inside there, forcing him out wide. I would like to hear that one, how that one will play out later on tonight.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Interesting to hear that. 2 laps to go then in this one. Battle for the podium now involves 4 cars. Doesn't involve this man though. Josh Malin 8.6 seconds in front of the rest of them. Jordan now is trying to hang on to second. Rory O'Shea is chasing him, but Keith has now latched himself on to the back of Rory O'Shea, and we know if there is space, Keith will go for it. He's driving with the bit between his teeth this week, and we'll see what he's able to do in that 18 car as he chases off. He's pulled away from Jonathan Brown, left him for dead behind. A second clear of that man is right on board with Keith now. He's up 9 places from where he started, but he'll like to make that a podium. Rory just needs to hang on for 1 more lap after this one to secure himself a podium. Can he do it? Let's see. Through the corkscrew. Great. Oh, he's lost a little bit there. Here comes Keith now. He's found that space. Rory leaves it for him, and Keith slips it up the inside. 1 error was all it took, and Keith moves into 3rd place. But I'm sure Rory will try and come straight back, and he runs out wide. And it was just all it took was a small bit of oversteer, and that's handed Keith Dempsey that podium.
Yeah, what props to our cameraman as well. Got an absolutely brilliant shot of that little mistake by Rory O'Shea. Now all of a sudden he's being put under pressure by Jonathan Brown as they go into the Andretti hairpin for 4th position. Will Jonathan try and move down the inside? He pulls out to the inside, but I don't think he'll have the space. Rory's giving him a little bit of space, which just encourages Jonathan to stick his nose a little bit further in there, but just about getting away with it, 2 of those, and you wouldn't want an accident in the final lap of the race here, as Jonathan's going to push again. Be interesting to see what Rory does into the corkscrew, given the fact that he had an issue there the last time around. But for Jonathan Brown, is still holding off. He's still being held off here as we head up the hill into turn number 6. And we already see those seagulls vacating there in the background. I'm not surprised at the sound of the engines of these, but a fantastic performance again by Josh Malin. We're going to wait to see him cross the line, but we're still following this battle here, Jack.
Absolutely, yeah, but we're going to get now the first double winner in a feature and a sprint race. Josh Malin, absolutely nobody could touch him. He will lead into the final round. He weaves back and forth. He'll be delighted. The feature has gone his way at last. Josh Malin does the double at Laguna Seca. 8.8 seconds clear. Oh, mistake from Rory in the last corner. This is going to be a run for the line between himself and Jonathan Brown. I think he might just have it. Rory O'Shea hangs on for 4th ahead of Jonathan Brown. Jordan Kelly drives through for 2nd. Keith Dempsey recovers to the podium. Great drive from Keith. Richard Lyons up 17 places from where he started. Brian McManus in 7th. Tony Stack, he'll be happy with 8th. Johnny McMullen up to 9th. And Kevin Shine, will he hang on versus Peter McCann into the last few corners here? Kevin trying to get himself in a top 10 place, which is a great effort from Kevin. Peter McCann, I think he'll be disappointed after that contact with Dave Maguire, and it could have been maybe a top 5 maybe for Peter, but Josh Malin, he'll be absolutely over the moon with that 15th up to the win. The feature's never gone his way this season, but at last he's managed to do a double, and the first person to do it as well.
Yeah, my new nickname for Josh Malin is Justin Timberlake. And I'll leave you figure that one out if you think about it long enough. He was absolutely wired to the track tonight. In sync is right. What a performance!
Okay, I got it.
What a performance by Josh Malin. Yeah, I thought I'd hand it to you. I didn't think you were getting it, so I thought I'd make it a little bit easier for you. What a performance by Josh Malin tonight! And really tonight, if Josh like I'm just trying to look and see what the championship standings are. He obviously held a 30-point advantage, but barring an absolute disaster in 2 weeks' time in Montreal, this tonight has won Josh Malin the iDMC Winter 2021 Championship. Not quite yet. Not yet, not mathematically, but really from this point, Josh would have to do an almighty disaster for him not to. All he has to do is turn up and finish somewhere in the top 10, and he should do enough to secure himself the iDMC Pro Winter Season Championship. So after rounds 9 and 10, Josh Malin, the feature winner here, and look at that gap, 8.3 seconds here by Josh, and that was him starting in 15th position. So what an incredible drive by Josh Malin. And as you say, going back to back, Jack, it doesn't really get much better than that. Just looking down through the grid as well, good recovery drive from Keith Dempsey. Jordan Kelly will be happy with a second place. Keith, that's a big result for him as well, with Dave McGuire finishing so far down into 15th place there, you can see. And for Dave, that incident really has lost him the chance of competing for the championship going into the final week.
We'll have to wait and see what happens in due course, but this is going to be a tough one for him to try and come back from. We'll have to wait and see whether he manages to get it back.
Sorry,
but Dave
Jack,
McGuire has got a massive task coming up in the last 2 rounds.
Yeah, those were the championship standings going into this round, just before people begin to think that they're live. They're not the live points. Those are the standings going into this week's round. There are the updated standings. Now we see the updated standings, at least what we think are the updated standings. 314 plays 273. I'm surprised. I thought there'd be a much bigger gap between them. But 264, 314. No, that's the standings after the first round, because that was 50 points with Josh Malin in the opening round. There we go. Thank you very much. Niall, we got there in the end. Now Maher doing the graphics in the background. Josh Malin now a 63-point advantage at the top of the standings, Jack. It's going to be very difficult. And look, Keith Dempsey is the man now that's closest to him, is the most likely to challenge him, having started the day in P3.
Yes, all of a sudden Keith has come out of nowhere and taken that second place in the championship. But Josh has got he's got a massive lead right now. He would need a absolute horrific final round. Basically, a double DNF is what it would take for that to happen. But we'll have to wait and see in due course what happens in Montreal. But joining us for this one is the first man to go do the double in this one. Josh, welcome back in once again. Something's finally gone your way in the feature race. A double win, pole to the victory in race number 1, 15th to the win in the feature race. I know the feature never really goes your way. It's finally gone your way. Well done.
Lemon finally. I had like back at Long Beach and the other meetings before that. It was it's nice to finally have something go my way. Obviously, on the first lap there was a bit of carnage. I managed to navigate my way around, and thank God I managed to come out of it in one piece.
Yeah, absolutely. But you now, of course, lead the championship you've gotten a really nice, comfortable lead now, of course, after Dave got caught up in an incident right there. But Montreal in 2 weeks' time, 2 rounds left. You've really got the championship, basically almost one hand on the trophy. Feeling confident heading into Montreal?
I'd like to think so, but I don't want to jinx anything. So anything can happen in this sport. Even though the cars aren't real, the racing very much is, as Andy McEwen, commentator, once said. So yeah, anything can happen. So I'm just going to take it in my stride and try and keep my nose clean, like I did today.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking forward to seeing how that pans out in the end. But Josh, before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to say a quick thank you to?
Thanks to my real life sponsor, Damien from the Car Guys, and obviously to Digital-Motorsports for hosting a fantastic series. And yeah, look forward to 2 weeks' time.
Absolutely. Finally, we've got a feature race winner in the form of Josh Malin. Josh, congratulations. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time, hopefully. Maybe talking to you as champion.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
So that was Josh Malin. As we see, an 8.3 second winner of this feature race, won the heat race as well. But another man that's done really well this weekend, and particularly, I suppose, after disappointment 2 weeks ago, Jordan Kelly joins me. Jordan, I suppose, as we say, I know Long Beach was a bit disappointing, didn't quite get the results that you want. I suppose that kind of knocked you out of the championship picture, but fantastic really to kind of to get back to it this week, and you know, it's nothing better than a recovery drive after what was a difficult week in Long Beach.
Yeah, the week didn't start off too well. I started to do Windows update there the other night, and the PC just completely shot itself. So I had to re-download everything, and I think it was about 6:10 this evening. I was downloading firmware drivers for the frigging wheelbase, and so I took a different approach to this week now, seeing as I wasn't really in the fight for the championship. So I decided just not to qualify and see how far I could get up the grid. So it was probably the two most fun races I ever had. So I might be doing it more often.
Yeah, taking a bit of inspiration from Mac from the back, is it, Dave Cam, and some of the YouTube stuff that kind of goes from back to front? Because when Chris McCann was saying here in the chat section that's what you did, that it wasn't a recovery drive, we thought that actually you had an issue in qualifying. But how did it pan out? Because there was a lot of incident, particularly in that second race.
I've narrowly avoided a few incidents in the first lap, I think it was. But I was just kind of sitting in behind, not trying too many maneuvers, because if you try stuff, you'll get caught up maybe. So I just sat back and waited for everything to fizzle out, and then try and make an attack in. But once I seen Josh get into the lead, I was like, "There's no catching Josh." So I just sat behind the two boys and just waited my time, because there was no real point of passing out at that stage, because there was a good gap behind. So I just waited out and took it when I needed to. So.
Yeah, that's the thing, I suppose. Like, and as you say, I suppose the pressure was off a little bit this week. I suppose that make it a little bit more enjoyable racing, knowing that the pressure was off your shoulders.
Yeah, it's them two races probably the two most fun races I ever had. Trying to get through the pack and just trying and keep pace with everybody. So it was a different experience compared to starting from the front. That's for sure.
And I suppose finally, Jordan, away from the iDMC winter season at the moment, you guys are currently competing in the Nürburgring Digital Series, the NLS now that it's known as, but formerly the VLN. Tell us a little bit about that series, and kind of, I think it's Peter McCann, and I'm trying to remember who else is in the car. Brian, that's right. So, like, how are you finding that series, and kind of how are you guys getting on?
We I think I finished two or 3 weeks ago. I think I finished, but we had there was like I think there was 5 rounds, but 2 of the rounds we got killed by we'll say slower kind of cars making stupid maneuvers and stuff. But we had I think we had 2 good races with we were able to keep with the front runners for about maybe the first 2 hours, but it was their pace is just unreal, and I'm never driving that M4 ever again. It was the most handful car I've ever driven in my life.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky one around Nürburgring. Doesn't exactly go where you want.
I think it was 45 degrees Celsius track temp or something. It was death. Just so it won't be happening again.
Jordan, thanks a million. Congratulations again. A fantastic result this week. And as we say, if it wasn't for last week's unfortunate last week, as it can happen to anybody, you would still be talking about you in the championship picture. Thanks a million, Jordan Kelly, for joining us. And we do, of course, remember that we now leave the United States before we line up our next interview. And we head to Canada for the final round, which means not only are we approaching the end of the iDMC Pro Winter season for this year in 2021, but we're also approaching season 2, in which we find ourselves in very more familiar territory, I suppose, than the stuff over across the water. We have the Touring Car Championship coming up, I love TCR stuff. I'm glued to DTM and BTCC. I currently have a recreation of the 1997 British Touring Car season on R Factor, which I'm working my way through because I have no life. But we do want to ask you what you think about the new season, and more specifically, should we have a Pro and a Pro-Am grid for next season? Because, of course, we're running Pro and Pro-Am separately at the moment with the 2 weeks with the USF2000 cars. We had a multi-class, of course, last time around. So leave us know in the chat what you think, because I know that this has been watched from Digital-Motorsports.com. And also, of course, remember your driver of the day, so you have a chance of winning €2,000 or over €1,000 in sim gear, and also influencing the next season. So thanks to our sponsors, SIMUCUBE, for that, as well as our sponsors, of course. Where am I going? Our sponsors for this season, of course, not just SIMUCUBE. I'll leave Jack talk you through that while I go through this, because I'm after losing me notes. After all that,
and to think this man did strategy for Sebring.
I know. Miracles do happen.
Absolutely. Well, we didn't exactly do any better. We kind of winged it, so we had to do that. But anyways, yeah, SIMUCUBE, big thanks to them for supplying the prize, of course, for doing that. We've got, and I said thanks, of course, to the Shoreway Group and to SimTag as well for those amazing hydraulic pedals. If you want to have a look at those, go look at them. They're a serious piece of kit. As well to Motorsport Ireland, who are also supporting the series as well, and of course Digital-Motorsports.com, who is, of course, running this series and providing the stewarding, of course. And a big thanks to Sean and Rob as well, the stewards, who are working so hard week in and week out.
Yeah, and they did have their hands full last week at Long Beach, so nice to see a little bit less incident. But really, the headline here, Jack, tonight is that Josh Malin has massively put his hand on the championship. Dave Maguire's spin out in the second round. Josh Malin, the first this season to go back-to-back. And with Keith Dempsey having issues himself, it means Josh now, as we see, if we could have a quick look at the championship standings before we sign off. But Josh now holding a 64 point advantage, I think, at a 63 point advantage at the top of the table. And really, Jack, with 2 rounds left to go, it's Josh's to lose. But still, a good battle here between Keith and Dave Maguire. So still should be a good battle for second place as we head to Montreal in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, absolutely. Montreal is going to be fantastic. It's tight and it's twisty. You've got the iconic wall of champions in the last corner, but crucially, what's fantastic for these cars is that you've got that long back straight heading into the last chicane. So there's going to be lots of overtaking. Don't miss it. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. But don't forget, the Pro-Am is on next week. There's a great championship fight heading on there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But from us, from here at Digital-Motorsports.com for the iDMC Pro Winter season, having gone coast to coast from Long Beach to Laguna Seca last week, it's now see y'all America and salut Montreal for the final 2 rounds 11 and 12 of the iDMC Pro Winter Series in Montreal in Canada. But until then, slán go fóill.
They say that perfection doesn't exist in this game. Most players just don't have it in them. But those who dare to seek it might catch excellence. And that sounds perfect to me. So, I'm done playing. Let's drive.
Are you itching to get racing? Whether it's circuit racing, drifting, rallying, or even karting, here at Digital-Motorsports.com we run some of the best online leagues in the world. To get involved, visit our website at Digital-Motorsports.com and enroll for our next event.